Thank you very much indeed, and welcome to today's skirmish in the battle of words between Dilys Powell and Frank Muir and Antonia, Fraser and Denis Norden. And we start with our traditional trawl through the dictionary in search of meaning. And maybe, Frank, you could give us the meaning of the word hypocoristic.
Well, hypo means beneath, doesn't it? Hypodermic.
Yes.
Beneath the thing.
The skin.
Hippopotamus beneath the river. So, so what do we want to do? Come on, my classicist mate here.
What was the next word?
Choristic. C-O-R-I-S-T-I-C.
Choristic.
If you applied it to Denis, you might think of Den or Denny.
It's a kind of a word, affection, a term of affection.
Getting very near to it.
Well, is it a sort of
petability?
Yes.
I think that earns a mark. I think that earns
fine.
a good
Thank
mark.
You, next round.
It's of the nature of a pet name. Antonia, your word is recondite.
Well, that means very learned and abstruse, doesn't it?
Yes. Abstruse and rather like hypocoristic, obscure.
Yes, indeed. How right you are. If I agree with you, will I get marks?
I think you'll get both marks for that because, yes, abstruse is bang in the centre of the target. Dilys, a mnemonic. M-N is the beginning of it. Mnemonic.
Mnemonic. It's Greek. It's something to do with remembering.
Yes.
It's a helping to remember.
2 full marks, straight off. That's exactly it. Very familiar. Medical students rely very much on mnemonics. They're usually filthy rhymes, none of them repeatable here. In fact, a few years ago, a publisher produced a book of medical mnemonics, and he cleaned them all up. And of course, none of them sold. Totally unmemorable. Denis, an optotype.
An optotype. Is it something to do with opticians and type?
It is, indeed.
It's not those things that they have up where you have to put your hand over one eye.
Well, it's alleged to be. It's alleged to be an eyesight testing chart, which you get 2 marks. But in fact, yesterday I went to have my eyes tested, and knowing it was on the menu, and as I sat down, I said rather knowingly to the chap, I suppose you want me to look at the optotype. He had no idea what it was at all.
I always remember seeing a cartoon of an optician's window, and he had the sign optician outside, and it was printed in blurred lettering.
And it read, eyes tested while you wait.
Yes. Well, we're going to move on now, and later in the programme, Frank and Denis are going to give us the true and oft-forgotten origins of 2 quotations. In fact, this week they're both song titles, and Frank is going to be The Boy I Love is Up in the Gallery. Denis's is It Only Happens When I Dance With You, which some of us are misguided enough to think was a 1948 Irving Berlin song title, but Denis later is going to tell us where it really comes from. And meanwhile, we're going to launch ourselves on a round of sporting vernacular. And I'm going to rattle through a string of colloquial words and ask you to which sport they relate. Frank, this is your string of words. A bedpost, a Woolworth, 4 horsemen, and a half Worcester.
American, because of Woolworths. Because Woolworths would be 5 or 10, because it was a 10-cent store, isn't it? 5 or 10-cent store. 4 horsemen speaks for itself. 4. Half of a Worcester. There's an apple called a Worcester pearmain. So a pear, and half of a pear is 1. So that's 1. Bedpost is 2, 4. So you've got something that needs 2, 5 or 10, 4 or 1. I give it to you, sir, on a plate. American baseball. Deny me if you dare.
I tipped the plate over.
Oh.
But I'll give you a mark for inventive arithmetic.
Well, what's your yarn? What do you reckon it is?
I presume the bingo caller's equivalent if he's calling for 10-pin bowling. It's to do with the arrangement and number of pins left after the ball has been bowled. Antonia, your list of words: boondocking, hurdling, squoping, and I think this is the giveaway, squidger, a squidger.
It sounds like one of those Kenneth Williams songs. I've been hurdling my squidger.
Can you give the assembled company the country of origin, sir?
Well, I always thought that it was British Isles.
Oh, it's shove halfpenny.
No, but it's that you're down to the right size of game.
I see, down to really, yes, I am certainly down to rather a small size. Tiddlywinks?
That's it. Tiddly. Well done. Dilys, your strange list of words is Kimmies, Hoodles, with an H on the front, Immies, I-M-M-I-E-S, Mibs, and Miggs, M-I-G-G-S.
It's nothing I've ever played.
She said severely.
How do you know?
Well, I should have known some of the words, and I certainly don't know any of those.
One of those sort of flixiest, the furthest.
Nobody else played Flixie the further except you and I, Frank.
What could it be?
That illusion is always lost.
Marbles.
Marbles is right, yes.
Miggs.
So 2 marks to this side.
Never, dear.
We were transmogrifying.
Denis, your list of words: a hatch, a wedge, a wax, a waft, and a warp. No woof.
No. Well, it's a game of mysterious monosyllables.
I've seen it played a lot in California, but it sounds...
Oh, is it what they play on the beaches? What are those things called? They look like flying
Think of
saucers.
Liverpool.
Frisbee.
That's
Frisbee.
right, yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's it. They're the flight paths of a thrown frisbee.
Really?
The grand design. I think after that we'll go for something much more straightforward, like a round of derivations. What is the derivation of the following word or phrase? Frank, to take French leave.
Means to leave without, to slip away, without saying goodbye to anybody, particularly your hostess or your host.
Yes, well, I think we know the meaning. We want to know the derivation.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. The derivation is like, I presume, it usually was, is if something was sort of fairly nasty, you added to it the name of a country that you particularly disliked, like Dutch courage and Dutch concert and those things. And this is French leave. In other words, the sort of things the beastly French would do.
Well, good try. It derives from the 18th century French custom, which was then socially acceptable, of departing from a reception without taking leave of the host or hostess. Antonia, sincere, the derivation of the word sincere.
I imagine it's Latin or that sort of thing.
Yes, that's...
Sincerus?
Right, well...
Oh, I see. Without sin, yes.
Without, certainly, without...
Sereness. You know what seer means. It means being very unsincere.
Yeah.
So if you're sincere, you're without unsincereness.
Yeah, something to do with wax and oil and stuff, so it's being non-oily.
It is said to derive from the Latin sine cera, without wax, and from the custom among Roman quarrymen of rubbing wax on blemishes in marble to hide such imperfections. Hence, sine cera came to mean without deception. Dilys, can you give us the derivation of under the aegis of?
Well, that's Greek, and I ought to know. It means under the shield of, and the Aegis was the shield of Athena, the sort of goddess of Athens, and presumably she protected people with a shield.
Well, I think you get full marks for accuracy and an extra mark for brevity. Denis, the derivation of a Greengage.
Wasn't this one of those words that's named after the bloke? Oh, yes, it is. It's named after the bloke who invented it. I always thought it was...
Was it green or gay?
That's what I was thinking. That if there was a Mr. Green who invented a new kind of gauge, he could never be immortalised because there was a Mr. Gage who invented... It would be perfect, this line, if green gauges were vegetables. When they invented a new kind of green. No, it's named after Mr. Gage, or Colonel Gage, or Sir Humphrey Gage.
Or even Sir William Gage.
Oh, is it William Gage? Bill Gage, yes.
But I think that earns 2 good green marks. Now, next a round that's rather jauntily entitled A Mixed Bag. Frank, in Italy he's known as Topolino, in Sweden as Pigg, in Japan as Mikkikuchi, and in Spain as Miguel Ratoncito.
Winnie the Pooh. or failing that, I think probably more accurately, Mickey Mouse.
Splendid. Full mark for Mickey Mouse. Antonia.
I grant it with pleasure.
It says here, it has been averred, which I think translates as Peter Moore, who sets these questions, thinks there are only 2 words in the English language that end with the letters G-R-Y. G-R-Y. Can you think of either of them?
Well, hungry as well.
Yes, well done.
And
That's enough.
angry is the other.
Oh, well, I think we give you double for that, as I'm in generous mood.
So what's the problem?
Only that it was averred. I think that was the problem.
Well, it's 2 birds.
In the hand as opposed to the bush. Yeah. Dilys, in 1604, a book was published giving the first indication that smoking could seriously damage your health. What was its title, and who was its author?
I rather believe it was James I.
Oh, yes. That absolutely right. Absolutely right. Yes, absolutely right.
Are we right?
It's something like a blast against tobacco.
That's very nearly a counterblast. A counterblast to tobacco. And it had an E on the end. I always remember the counterblast.
A counterblasty.
Denis, if Pope was 54, Balzac 62, Voltaire 63, and Keats 60 3/4, what are you?
Wait a minute. Who was the first one? Who was
Pope.
54? Well, they all suffered from lack of tall, right?
That's right.
Tall.
Yeah, lack of tooth. So on that reckoning, I shall fill in the time while I reckon out what 6 times 12 are, add 2 1/4. I'm 74 3/4. Would that be right?
Well, you see, I don't know the answer.
6 foot 2 3/4. Was that?
So, yes, you get full
Frank
marks.
6 foot 6, which is grotesque.
And an extra mark for helping me out by giving me the answer. A quick round of assorted Americana. By what name are the following Americanisms known in Britain? Frank, a bobby pin.
It's the other end of a teenager from Bobby Socks.
That's right.
It's a hairpin.
Yes, indeed. Antonia, a thumbtack.
A thumbtack at a drawing pin.
Yes. No catches in these. Dilys, a snap fastener.
A zip fastener. A zip.
No, not quite.
Not quite.
Popper.
Yes.
You know,
A popper.
What do they call those things?
Is that a thing?
There's a-
Popper. It's one of those
We're
things-
getting a lot of mime
your-
here at the moment.
Dilys,
It's
you've
like
got them on your
spiral
jeans.
staircase.
Don't I?
You've got them on your jeans. It's
Can't
those
show
things which you pull up. Snap fasteners.
Really?
I don't know.
It's what we British call a press stud.
Press.
And Dennis, what is our version of tic-tac-toe?
Noughts and crosses.
Yes, indeed. Full marks. And now we come to this delicate round in which Frank and Dennis give us the true origin of those song titles that I gave you earlier in the programme. And yours, Frank, to start with, is the true origin of The Boy I Love is Up in the Gallery.
I'm a bit late with a book for the Oxford University Press, and as our dear chairman, how well he's done, is also in the same position. Understand? I think I really should explain to the Oxford University Press, or OUP, as those of us who own a book call it, as to why I am late. Because I'm a little late, in fact. I signed the contract 11 years ago, and I actually started 9 years ago. And it was when I left working in television, as distinct from on it, and came and worked at home and wrote at home. And this was a bit of an upset with my wife, suddenly to have the man around the house all day. And she said to me, I married you for better or for worse, but not for lunch. Because having a man in the house at lunchtime interrupts the whole flow of her normal, busy life. And I said, well, don't worry, you don't have to come back and get lunch. I will have something simple. And she said, well, really do have something simple. Otherwise, if you eat a lot, you'll only put on weight. Because you're not doing anything, just sitting at a desk, typing. And I said, I'll just have an egg and a piece of cheese. Would that be all right? And she said, yes, fine. So at 5 to 1, I used to finish work on the OUP book and go out and get my egg. Now, it seemed to me there was a very nice man called Augustus Hare, late in the last century, who was having tea at a rather grand house. And the hostess said to him, I do hope you'll have some of our honey, Mr. Hare, because we make it ourselves. And he said, oh, what a good idea to keep a bee. In the same way of thinking, I thought if I was going to have eggs, the thing is to have a hen. So I got a hen, and I called it Macduff, rather amusingly, actually, because then if there was no egg, I could encourage it with lay on Macduff. No, but to return to the serious. Eventually, I used to boil the egg when it was at the right temperature in Malvern water. And then I'd put it down. Then I'd make my cheese, which was a slice of bread, which was exactly 5/16 of an inch. And I toasted it by putting it in the toaster and activating the switch. And when the slice of toast is finished, you get the cheese, and you cut off exactly 1/8 of an inch of the cheese. And I do that by getting a saw and cutting through the kitchen table 6 inches in, and then putting a round-headed screw at the end, and getting some piano wire and tying that on the end, and on the other end of the wire, getting the toggle from an old duffel coat. Or if you haven't got an old duffel coat, as in my case, a new duffel coat. Tie it around the edge, and then you can get the cheese off. Well, this was my lunch for the last sort of 7 years. And it was jolly good, but I didn't get back to the desk until about 4:45. And then I discovered Grosvenor pie. Have you hit Grosvenor pie? It's wonderful. It's this rectangular thing with lovely, crisp, rich pastry, and inside there's jelly and meat and a slice of boiled egg with a bit of green around the yolk. It's something marvellous. And I found that 4 inches of that did me for lunch, and I was back at the desk. So I gave a little spurt, Oxford University Press, which is why you've had a few pages of the manuscript after 9 years, but I'm afraid it can no longer happen. I've got to go back to the egg and cheese, because my wife suddenly said, you've got so fat. What have you been eating at lunch? And I said, well, 4 inches of Grosvenor pie. She said, "You fool! A spoonful of that is 1,800 calories." So Oxford University, yes, I'm terribly sorry there'll be a further delay because the pie I love is upping the calories.
Splendid. You have me guessing to the penultimate breath. Denis, what is the true origin of "It Only Happens When I Dance With You"?
Well, unlike Frank and his Oxford University press, I'm rapidly coming to the conclusion that I'd probably be persuaded to write anything as long as the money is right. And nothing offers better proof of that than my latest work in progress, which is turning an ancient Eskimo folk epic into a peak-time television play for Channel 4. Now, actually, the story is quite compelling in its way, if only because there can't be many romantic tragedies that take place in a temperature of 40 degrees below. Mind you, come to think of it, there can't be that many romantic triumphs either. But the other thing that this particular drama has going for it is its hero, because he's a dedicated young Eskimo walrus hunter whose whole life revolves around his harpoon. Now, it's rightly so, because that's the way of life up there, and so responsive is this harpoon to his hand that he's now become the most skilled hunter in the entire polar region, rejoicing in many furs, much kudos, and the only igloo for miles with a 2-sledge garage. Nevertheless, over the whole first act, it is a bleak life he leads, his only close family being the 2 elderly aunts who brought him up ever since the day his parents perished in a penguin stampede. These elderly ladies are a couple of very nice old dears with 2 rather unfortunate handicaps. The first being that, owing to a rather squalid incident with a reindeer, both of them have only one eye, while their second distinguishing characteristic is a habit of spending most of the day sitting round on nearby ice floes, which is probably what gave rise to their local nickname of Frozen Pants and Chilled Astern. But despite those linguistic drawbacks, the young walrus hunter is very fond of them, and indeed they're the only women in his life, until the fateful day when he happens to see a young Eskimo girl lying face downward in a snowdrift. I mean, he doesn't realise she's face downward because Eskimo girls are always so bundled up with furs that the only way to discover which end up that one is to get her to talk and then note where the sound is coming from, which our young hunter does, and they strike up a conversation and they arrange to meet again and then again, and then soon, not long after, that December, in fact, she agrees to spend the night with him. And when he wakes up the following morning, which of course because of the geography is sometime in April, well, he realises it's a case of what they call up there in the far north, love at first light. So they get married. And what happens when they get married is she immediately starts on at him about a person in his position should have a larger home, one of the luxurious 2-story jobs that advertised up in those parts as a big loo. So immediately and obediently, the young man takes up his trusty harpoon, makes for a school of basking walruses, and propels it at them. Well, imagine his horror when, going to retrieve his prey, he discovers that what he's hit is not a walrus at all. The harpoon had thrown wide and hit one of his aunts, who just happened to be on a nearby ice floe with her good eye facing the wrong way. Well, this accident so affects the young hunter, he determines to put his beloved harpoon aside and never use it again. And what's more, he adheres to this vow until a few months later his wife whispers something in his ear that forces him out in search of fresh wealth, new furs, and so on, because after a visit to the doctor's igloo, she'd come back with the news that they'd soon be hearing the chatter of tiny teeth. So out on the ice floes he ventures again, and this time makes for a sunny, well-lit part of the ice where, in the summer sunshine, a polar bear is sitting, fanning itself with a small seal. But once more, the harpoon goes wide of the mark, and he watches it embed itself in a small figure crouching on an adjacent floe. You've guessed it. That figure is none other than his sole remaining one-eyed aunt. And beside himself with grief, he tries to give her nose-to-nose resuscitation. And when it fails, he rushes home in a paroxysm of rage and shatters his harpoon into 100 pieces over his wife's head. Now, that is one of the most eloquent gestures of renunciation in all Eskimo drama, but she doesn't get the point of it at all. Why me? She says, what have I done? He says, I don't know, he screams back, but before you arrived, that harpoon would hit any animal I aimed it at. But somehow, and here he unconsciously anticipates the title of an Irving Berlin tune, it only harpoons one-eyed aunts with you.
Well done, Dennis. What a lovely way to finish the programme. It only remains for me to announce that the winners this week are Dennis and Antonia, and Frank and Dilys will have another go at them. Meanwhile, goodbye. Thank you very much, and welcome to today's encounter between our teams of hand-picked philologists, Dilys Powell and Frank Muir, and Antonia, Fraser and Denis Norden. And we start with our traditional hunt through the dictionary in search of meaning. Frank, can you give me the meaning of the following word, obloquy?
Yes. I think I can help you there. O'Donnell, in a simple word to explain it is animadversion, isn't it?
Yeah, that's one
it's
of the
an
simpler.
animadversion.
Could you give us one of the complicated
Could
words?
lead to opprobrium.
Yes.
It's it's
Could lead...
severe criticism, isn't it? Abuse.
Yes, that's evil-speaking abuse.
It's a good 18th century word.
Good topic for a book, actually, isn't it?
Difficult to spell, though.
Antonia, an andiron. It's A-N-D, the aspirate is silent. A-N-D-I-R-O-N.
Well, I suppose it could be a kind of command to an errant child. Clean up the kitchen andiron, couldn't it?
I think you'll get a mark for mischief there, yes. But have you any idea?
Well, is it, in fact, a form of faran?
It is. Yes. Go on.
A faran that you put by a fire?
Yes. Or even a fire dog. It does seem to be the aspirates could go on it, that it could give it the real meaning. Maybe it was a Yorkshire fire dog originally. Dilys, can you give us the meaning of a cenotaph?
Cenotaph. That comes from the Greek. Two words. Kenos in Greek means empty. Taphos means a tomb. So a cenotaph, as in London, is an empty tomb. Is that right?
Yes, that is right. I think a lot of people don't know that. They think that the unknown soldier is buried underneath it. But it's a tomb where the body is elsewhere. Dennis, a farrago.
Yes, I know. I've never, it's not the Farrago Press. It's a kind. I think of it as a kind of disorganized mixture. It's a whole lot of things mixed in, and it doesn't ever seem to be used of a mixture of good things. They always say a farrago of lies, or farrago of nonsense, or farrago of untruth. They never say farrago of virtues, do they? So I think it must be some kind of malign mixture.
It is indeed just a mixture or hodgepodge. But I agree that it's usually malign, but it isn't malign in the dictionary. And we now move on to the quotations, which later in the programme Frank and Denis are going to give us the real origins of. And Frank is the title of a novel, 1984, and Denis is going to give us the origin of the song title that Irving Berlin wrote, I'm Putting All My Eggs in One Basket. Meanwhile, I'm going to give you a description, a biography of a person whose name has for a particular reason become a dictionary word. And here he is. He was born in the reign of George I, became First Lord of the Admiralty, also Master of Trinity House. Of him it was written, he was too infamous to have a friend, too bad for bad men to commend.
I will not shoot a sitting bird.
A name is what
Fourth
we want.
Earl of Sandwich.
Yes, indeed.
He gave his name to the Earl, which is a kind of pastry.
Yes. And also gave his name to the pieces of bread with meat in between that he used to eat when he was...
You have to be very careful about that, Michael. I once said that on this programme, that the Earl of Sandwich gave his name to Sandwich, and I had a very purse-lipped letter from a listener who said he didn't. He gave his title to this thing. His name was John Montague, and I've always remembered that. So don't fall into that trap, because that listener is lurking out there with his little stamp at the ready.
I'll tell you another thing. He didn't invent it. That there were three ladies of easy, not to say no virtue at all, who also did the same sort of thing. Fanny Murray, Kitty Fisher, and Mrs. Baddeley. And they all were given banknotes, and they, in derision of this lousy £100 banknote, or 20 or whatever they were, they clapped them between bread and ate them.
Much more interesting origin than the Master of Trinity House. So I thought that really was a superb piece of detection, Frank. And we now move on to a round of poetical cliches, lines of poetry that have become familiar sayings. And I'm going to give you the build-up to them, and I want to hear from you the cliche that follows. Frank, I hold it true, whate'er befall, I feel it when I sorrow most.
It's a bit mid-19th century, isn't it? A bit heavy.
It's about a chap called Arthur. It's a series of poems that were written about a chap called Arthur.
Arthur?
Yes.
Arthur who?
Arthur Hallam.
Oh. Yes, Tennyson's friend.
Yes.
Which will be In Memoriam.
Yes.
So it's written by Alfred, Lord Tennyson.
Yes.
In Memoriam, about his friend Arthur Hallam.
Or as he called him, A.H.H., I think, didn't he?
Ah. I don't quite know what I'm supposed to do further.
Well, I thought that In Memoriam, there are certain lines in Memoriam that I think have been quoted by non-poets more than any other.
I can't recollect this one.
The cliche, which I will now give you, is, "'Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all." Raised a fever of intense apathy, isn't it? Antonia, the build-up to the cliche is, "And while the bubbling and loud hissing urn throws up a steaming column..."
Oh, the cup that cheers but not inebriate.
Well done, yes. Full mark.
Yes.
Straight off. Yes, that's Cowper, who, because I remember from school always as a citizen of credit and renown, he wrote about Gilpin, isn't it? Dilys, "Winds of the world give answer, They are whimpering to and fro.
Oh, that must be Kipling. It must be.
I tried to kipple it for you.
Kipling. To and fro. What can they know of England, who only England know?
Well, very nearly. And what should they know of England, who only England know? Kipling, The English Flag. Denis, how far that little candle throws his beams.
So shines a good deed in a naughty world.
Well done. Well done. Another direct hit. Who speaks it?
Oh, well, that's,
and where?
Isn't that... That's one of the kind of sententious things that Portia says, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Merchant of Venice, yeah.
Just after the moonlit bank, if I remember rightly. Now, quick round of thespian terminology. Words, the sort of vernacular of show business. Frank, who is Aunt Edna?
Aunt Edna is a lady that Terence Rattigan hoped to please with his plays. Because he said it should please Aunt Edna, isn't it?
Yes, yes. I think that earns the marks.
And I'm sure he did.
I always thought, I mean, he used it in a dismissive way, didn't he, as Aunt Edna? But he really was did he think he was writing for Aunt Edna?
No. Didn't Ross of the New Yorker also have one, a little lady from Albuquerque?
Peoria. Wasn't it in Peoria?
Peoria,
yes.
Yes.
Who invented the man on the Clapham omnibus?
Well, that's legal, isn't it? Isn't that when you with this injunction? We did Frank and I once did a series with a judge on the radio, and he was used to talk about the reasonable man, your ordinary reasonable man, who was generally described. What would the man on the Clapham omnibus say about this?
I wonder if a judge has recently travelled through Clapham omnibus. Antonia, what's the meaning in the theatre of to pong?
Well, if it means what I think it means, a pinter would not care to be ponged. Is that right? Is it an actor taking a playwright's words and...
it's an actor who dries up and pongs it. He keeps going in his own words.
Yes.
And I think it can be applied to when other people dry up as well. I remember the most dramatic example of ponging I know of is my wife went to a one-act play at a preparatory school some time ago, and near the end of the one-act play, one of the boys dried up, and another chap ponged and used the line at the beginning of the play, and they went right back to the beginning. It started over again, and for a moment, my wife had a vision of infinity. But, you earn your full marks for ponging. Dilys, who are George Spelvin and Walter Plinge?
They're not characters in a play.
No, they are actors who appear occasionally in very, very widely varied roles. It's very difficult to give you a clue to this. I think it's one of these you either know or you don't.
Are they not the equivalent of cricket's A.N. other?
Yeah. Yes. It's usually an actor who's doubling.
They play Charles his friend and that sort of thing, do they?
It's when reps like to give the impression that they have a larger company maybe than they actually have. I remember it used to happen a lot at the Gate Theatre in Dublin, but they were much more...
Dennis and I were Walter Plinge once, and when Take It From Here, an old radio programme which we used to write, and when more voices were called for than the cast could provide, we, either or both of us, would go into it, and we had a name too.
You were Charles Mostyn, weren't you?
Herbert Mostyn. It was our middle names.
I thought I was very clever to remember that.
You were semi-clever.
Denis, what is yatata, also known as drooling?
I don't know. Is it?
I would have thought.
Is it rhubarb? Is it rhubarb? Is it?
It's a particular sort of rhubarb.
Oh.
This is in the medium with which we're I was going to say immersed at the moment.
Well, I'm at the moment immersed up to and beyond my nostrils, I think, with this.
I think this, well, it's one of these that you either know it.
Yeah,
I don't think I can
yeah.
give you a clue on it. It's fill-in conversation to spin out allotted TV or radio time. Better move rather swiftly onto a round of double definitions. What one word has these two different meanings? Frank, to manage and an ecclesiastical garment.
Cope.
Well done. Quick marks. Antonia, banned by the sixth commandment and a collection of crows. The first definition is banned by the commandment. The second definition is a collection of crows. What one word fits those two definitions?
Well,
We know the seventh, don't we?
Yes, well, do we? I hope we know it and keep it. I mean, speaking.
An adultery
The
of
sixth
crows.
isn't the sixth murder? Killing.
Kill.
Killing. Thou shalt not kill, yes.
No,
Yes.
our first thought was better. It is, in fact, murder. Before you say too much about it, let's give you the marks.
Huh?
Did you know a collection of crows was a murder?
Of course we
No,
knew.
and I
didn't
thought the sixth commandment, actually, I corrected myself, was thou shalt not kill, not thou shalt not murder.
No, but the murder is the answer
Oh, is
to
it?
the question. It's the marker. No. Yes, I always thought a collection of crows was called rooks. But, this is a single rook. It's called a crow, isn't it? Anyway,
This makes good cause, I think.
Dilys. I was just waiting for the groan to subside.
Don't hold your breath, Michael.
Sucking inwards. What word fits the definition? A flat-bottom boat and also American 21.
Pontoon.
Yes.
Hey.
Well done. I didn't know you had habits like that. And Denis, the first definition, to make a show of activity, and the second definition, a woman's sartorial appendage.
Flap. Flap? Is that what you don't get in a flap as a show? Flap or flap around. You flap around, that's a show of activity. And do you have women have flaps, though? They used to, right? That's
Where do they wear their flaps? Somebody in the audience knows this.
Do they? Somebody in the audience could speak a little louder. You want to get in here again?
The clue was it's sort of sibilated out of the audience.
Do hurry up, we're getting a little behind.
I think I better pass it to the other team.
All right.
Because Frank obviously...
Bustle.
Well done. Well done. And now we come to the moment when Frank and Denis are going to give us the real origins of those quotations that I gave you earlier. Well, Frank's isn't a quotation, of course. It's the title of a novel, 1984. Where does that come from, Frank?
It comes from a wonderful story by a wonderful novelist called George Orwell. Now, children, are you all sitting comfortably? I want to tell you, children, about a little lugworm who was very, very, very greedy. And this little lugworm lived in Barking Creek, in the mud. And his name was Ephor. It wasn't really his name. His full name was Ephor Teniel. But he wasn't Welsh, and he was no relation to the great Punch cartoonist and illustrator of Alice in Wonderland. He was so ignoble a creature in the scale of animals that he wasn't allowed a name at all. Ephor Teniel was his postal code. One day he said to himself, "They keep telling me it's the early bird that catches the worm. Why can't," because he spoke like that, "why can't the early worm catch a bird?" Because he had this secret ambition, instead of eating mud all day, to have the equivalent of a chicken dinner. And he reckoned he could catch a bird by lying in the mud at dawn and wriggling, and when a sparrow caught him up in his beak, he'd wrap his body
round a sparrow's beak and strangle him to death.
Meanwhile, away in Cornwall, there was a little batch of seabirds. There were 10 of them. They were tern, and they lived in an abbey called Tentern Abbey. And there was 3 of the birds were extremely left-wing. They were called left turns. And there was 3 who were extremely right-wing, and they were called right turns. And there were 3 who always decided and kept changing their mind, and they were called about turns. And there was one very, very good one. And I only wish I could tell this story about him, because one good turn deserves an author. But it's the others we are concerned with, because all these turns, they lived in this abbey, and they paddled in the ocean, and they fished, and they built their nests. But the 3 right-wing turns, the right turns were the ones that built the nests, because they had plenty of straw, which they got from the little cottages nearby, because being right turns, they were friends of the Thatchers. And so the left turns didn't like this. They said, you should share, they tweaked. You should share with us. We believe in sharing everything. And they used to have conferences in their place, which was the Tintern Upper Cloister, the TUC. And they used to argue. And it was the about turn said, well, we don't know what to do. I mean, we'll go along with whatever you say. No, I don't agree. And yes, well, I've changed my mind. So it was the good turn who said, why don't we all move? Let's go up to London and find ourselves a new place where we can live, all 10 of us. So they flew away, and away they went to London, but it's a very, very long way from Cornwall, and they were terribly tired when dawn came. And, in fact, they'd lost one of their number, because the good turn had seen a little boy, and he wanted to rest his wings, and this boy loved seabirds, and he fed him sardines. His name was Arthur. Isn't that nice? So the good turn stayed with him, which is lovely, because one good turn deserves an Arthur. And we just left with the others, and they were circling around the mud just above Barking Creek, and they looked down and they saw this worm, and it was E410EL. And E410EL, seeing these 9 birds, thought, I'll have 9 dinners. I'll wrap myself round their beaks. And he lay in the mud and tweaked and thought, I'm going to eat the lot. But that wasn't how it ended at all. 9 turn 8 E4.
I find it hard to forgive you, Tentern Abbey. Dennis, you give us the origin of I'm putting all my eggs in one basket.
I've come to the conclusion that there's probably more guff written and talked about wine than there is about anything outside of sex. If, of course, there is anything outside of sex. Mind you, the explanation for my impatience with all the tralala that surrounds wine drinking may simply be what could rather aptly be described as sour grapes. In other words, because of the various humiliations my ignorance of the subject has led me into. The one I'm thinking of specifically is an incident in a exceptionally snooty wine bar, where I'd been so overawed by the wine waiter, who was a tall, thin gentleman with the air of an exiled archduke, that what I'd done is I had very meekly allowed him to select a wine for me. Well, while I was still trying to adjust to the fact that the figure 1980 on the one that he'd chosen wasn't the vintage, it was the price, back came His Excellency, and after the usual ceremony of passing the bottle rapidly to and fro in front of my eyes, as though it was one of those kind of tricks where the label changes colour, he took one of those high-tech corkscrews that they carry about, extracted the cork, and then proffered it to me. The cork, not the bottle. Well, as I already admitted, I'm not actually very well up on all these strange little rituals that go with wine drinking, so I got a bit confused, and the only thing that suddenly came into my mind was that there's something connected with wine tasting which entails swirling it round inside your mouth, then spitting it out. So that's what I did with the cork. Have you ever experienced one of those moments when a whole room suddenly goes quiet? That's one of the things I can still remember. The other is that rolling that cork round inside my mouth, it didn't actually taste all that bad. Relatively. Not when you compare it with the quiche that they serve there. But, of course, the most unforgettable part was spitting the cork out, because I don't know whether you know this, a cork can't half go. You asked that wine waiter who was still standing there with his mouth open. Well, you see, the most fulfilling part about being a writer is that when you experience as anything as soul-searing as that, you can make use of it. You can transmute it to the raw material of a novel or a play or a television mini-series, or, if you're the kind of writer I am, a 3-minute sketch for the Golders Green and District Amateur Dramatic Society Annual Satirical Review. Who turned it down? Now, can you believe that? I actually had a letter from their artistic director, Mrs. Trudy Throng, saying, "Dear Mr. Norman, thank you for the short skit set in a wine bar, but I'm afraid it's not only too crude for the sophisticated kind of audience that we attract, but I would not wish any of our members to portray a character so oafishly ignorant as to spit a cork at a wine waiter." Well, can you picture how I felt? Getting turned down by, of all people, Trudy Throng. Now, her ex-husband, Al, he'd been a friend of mine, and before he had decided to, as we say in television circles, switch to another channel, he'd indicated the kind of woman she was, because when the Society did their Christmas production of Peter Pan, it was at Al's suggestion that she was given the part of Captain Hook. So you can imagine how livid I was. In fact, I was just about to take the matter up with the Writers' Guild of Great Britain and the Parks Committee when a telegram came from Madame Throng saying she would now accept the sketch because she just remembered somebody who'd have no difficulty acting oafishly crude and ignorant. Her ex-husband. It's an absolute truth. In fact, I can remember the telegram word for word. Am putting Al, my ex, in wine bar skit.
Thank you, Mr. Norman. It only remains for me to announce that this week's winners are Frank and Dilys. But in our next programme, Antonia and Denis will have a chance to fight back. And until then, goodbye.
My word.
Panel game devised by Tony Shrine and Edward J. Mason. And here to introduce the teams is Michael O'Donnell.
Thank you very much, and welcome to a ringside seat at today's competitive assault upon our language by our two highly trained teams, Dilys, Powell and Frank Muir, and Antonia, Fraser and Denis Norden. And we start off with our traditional quest through the dictionary looking for meaning. Frank, what's the meaning of the word an amanuensis?
Samuel Johnson had 6 of them. Milton had some. Some of them were a womanuensis, his daughters, and an amanuensis, I think, means a literary assistant who mainly takes dictation, because Milton was blind and couldn't write, and Johnson used 6 of these poor gentlemen on compiling his dictionary.
That's full marks. How many do you have, Frank?
Me? I have
I was waiting for that.
Boggy the dog gets talked to, but no, it's dictated to, but doesn't get talked to. No, none.
No, you mechanise.
I have the high tech. Yes.
Let us move on. Antonia, a banshee.
Well, you wouldn't want me to impersonate a banshee on this
No.
programme, because otherwise the airwaves might get very unhappy.
That's
But
my music.
It is a screaming, or I think of it as screaming Irish ghost, isn't it?
Does it scream at any particular time?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yes.
But not at the time at which we are now recording the programme.
But what does it portend when it screams?
Well, death, of course, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yes. How did I guess? I mean, not guess. I knew that it would.
No, we'll give you 2 marks for screaming. I can show off here, actually, because it comes from 2 Irish words, born-she or born-she,
Really?
depending whether you come from the north or the south. And it is, in fact, a female elf. Now, I didn't know there were male elves, not in mine, female elves, but it's a female Irish elf.
I've never connected sex with elves.
No.
Gnomes, yes.
I mean, it's a sort of Edna O'Brien.
I've remarked before, you learn a lot on this programme. Sorry, Denis, you were going to say something interesting.
No, I wasn't.
I was just saying something boring. Dilys, an afflatus.
I think that's a poetic word.
Sounds like
I think it's a kind of feeling a poet gets before he launches into verse. Is that right?
That will, yes, we'll
That
leave it.
do.
That will do, yes, because it's absolutely right.
Might be terribly near flatulence, isn't it?
I was very worried about
So
this
was
word
I, yes.
because of my medical background, but luckily Dilys blew it away from the meaning, the other meaning there. It is actually inspiration, isn't it? What you were talking about.
You won't tell us what the other meaning is.
No, but
No.
I think several people in this audience obviously know. Denis, estivate,
That is very rude. Estivate is presumably...
It could be Eastivate. It's Aestivate is one alternative spelling.
Is it the opposite of hibernate?
It is. Now, I think that's a superb answer. 4 marks, quickly. 2 marks. And now you can go on to add to that.
Shall I? Scots are people who hibernate, aren't they? They're Hibernian. Hiber is hiver or winter, and is to spend the summer. Not to spend the summer fast asleep. What a glorious
but
prospect.
there's one
You missed
month-
the cricket.
Well, it's to spend the summer in a state of torpor.
Yes. Torpor is good as well.
I think so.
Torpor, if
I'm
you can't
a-
yeah.
Good word.
Good word, yeah. Good
I'm
state.
a martyr to it, yes. But that actually is the same as hibernate, is torpor as well, I decided.
I suppose, yes.
But we don't associate it with hibernating because torpor feels warmer, doesn't it?
I've seen it, I'm sure, as a rather posh word for simply spending the summer. In other words, you say, they estivated in Monte Carlo. That was around about the beginning of the century, didn't they? They used to use it rather grandly in that way.
Well, before we go on to the next round, I've got to give you the quotations that Frank and Denis have been given for the last round. And Frank's is Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and Denis's is Who was that lady I saw you with last night? Origin unknown, but certainly pre-Joe Miller's jest book.
1738.
1738, the gentleman on my left tells me. Meanwhile, a round of Shakespearean clangers. Frank, what's odd about the fact that in Julius Caesar, Cassius remarks to Marcus Brutus, the clock hath stricken 3?
Should be Strook.
But he was using poetic license to...
Because it was 4:30. Well, I'm sort of drying up now.
I thought you were playing with me and you
Michael.
knew the answer.
No, what's that?
No, there is an anomaly about Caesar.
Please, sir, please teach me.
No, let's give Frank a chance because I think I've been...
Caesar?
Yes.
Oh, Caesar? Oh, of course they didn't have... You had water clocks and things. They didn't strike till the 13th century, I do think.
Just splashed before that.
And candle or water clocks. So you couldn't strike. So.
Full marks, 2 marks.
Thanks.
Should have been, the clock has drippen 3, maybe, would have been accurate. Antonia, in Antony and Cleopatra, Cleopatra invites her attendant to a game of billiards. What is the anomaly?
The anomaly is that as they had to play it on sand, having no billiard tables in ancient Egypt, and as they weren't in the desert at the time, and the pyramids would have got in the way, but I imagine the anomaly is like with the clocks, that they didn't have billiards.
Yes. Nor even snooker. Do you know when billiards was invented?
1521.
I think that'll do. You said 1591, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Yes, everybody heard me.
So you get a bonus mark for accuracy there, I think. Yes, well done, Antonia.
Thank you very much.
Dilys, in King John, the king declaims, "Be thou as lightning in the eyes of France, for ere thou canst report, I will be there, the thunder of my cannon shall be heard." What is the anomaly in that?
Well, everything else has been about something which didn't exist at the time. So perhaps cannon didn't exist. Did cannon exist?
Well, it wasn't just cannon.
Gunpowder.
There were cannons in the church, but not in the army.
The kind that you fire, gunpowder. Gunpowder cannons didn't exist.
No, they didn't exist. That's the anomaly. Do you know when gunpowder was used as a propellant? It existed.
For bacon. Introduced into this country from China. In containers.
Called shells. When did that happen?
I would have thought 12th century.
Bit later.
11th, 14th.
That's it. 2 marks to Frank and Dilys. Well done. Denis, in A Winter's Tale, Antigonus asks a mariner, "Our ship hath touched upon the deserts of Bohemia?" Now, I acted in the question mark there because it said he asked. Our ship
all the others had a word sticking out like a sore thumb. Ships weren't invented. There was no such person in A Winter's Tale called Antigonus. He came in. Our ships have touched upon what?
Well, shall I do it again for you? Because
yes.
I acted the question mark
right.
instead of... there is a word that sticks out like a sore thumb. I'll try and disguise it. Our ship hath touched upon the deserts of Bohemia.
No such thing as a desert in Bohemia. It's all apartment buildings and high-rise flats. And
Well, in winter, during the Winter's Tale, there were deserts there. But
the only other sticking out word is either there were no ships or no coast. That's a good idea. Antonia's twigged it, I think.
Bohemia's
right. It's right in the middle, of course. Yes, it's right in the middle. It doesn't have any.
That's 2 very well-earned marks, I think.
Very hard-earned marks.
Yes, I'm determined not to help you with these questions. Let's move on to a rather more literary round. Literary only because we're going to dig into the literature again in search of numbers. Can you recite any lines of verse in which the following numbers occur? Frank, 1,000.
The night has 1,000 eyes. The day has but one.
Well done. 2 full marks. Tell us who wrote it? Poor Dylan.
A minor poet. It's a very old line, isn't it?
Yes.
It's night has 1,000 eyes. I think has been around. The thought's been around for centuries.
I thought you might have given us 1,000 pipers and ore. Where do they come from?
From Scotland.
Yes, I asked for that. Antonia, where would you find 24 in some verse?
24 blackbirds.
You have actually pierced the strange mind of the setter of these questions. That's the example that he gave. Peter Moore has written down 24 blackbirds baked in a pie. Well done.
Only 24 hours from Broadway.
Oh, I love
Yeah. What about, wasn't that the number of years that Faust was given, number of additional years that Faust was given? That elevates the
Only
tone of this.
24.
24 extra years of pleasure and knowledge, wasn't it? In
It
Goethe.
seemed a rather bad bargain. I thought he got more than that.
He got
Well, you know, you got, yeah.
Bonus years.
Doctors don't reckon much to giving you extra 24 years.
Frank, wasn't it 24 hours to Tulsa?
Yes.
Yes. Tulsa, 24 hours to Tulsa.
Are we feeling better now? Dilys, 15. Can you find there's a bit of verse with 15 in it?
Is that the one about how many men were there on a dead man's chest?
Have a
15?
guess.
15.
Well done.
15 men on a dead man's chest.
Dennis, 41.
It couldn't be the chap going to Tulsa taking the wrong road. He's now 41 hours.
The round trip.
Yeah. 41.
Track 41. Boy,
No,
you
it
give
isn't.
me a
Oh,
buzz.
it's Lizzie Borden, isn't it?
Right. Well done.
You said it.
Can you give us a...
Lizzie Borden took an axe, gave her mother 40 whacks. Then, when she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. And you can't cheat your mother. And I owe it all to Antonia.
Thank you very much.
Full marks to your team, to Antonia and Dennis.
That was rather jolly, that.
Now, double definitions. Frank, what word can be defined in these ways? The same word, 2 definitions. A canine malady and a glutinous painting.
Distemper.
Well done. 2 marks. Distemper. Antonia, a tall fir tree and sartorially spick and span. The audience have already got a bonus mark.
Spruce, the audience seemed to think.
2 marks to Antonia for good hearing.
Thank you, audience.
Dilys, a long clay pipe and a lay parish official.
Churchward.
Churchward.
Well done. 2 marks to Dilys. And Dennis, without footwear and to no avail.
Bootless.
Well done.
Bootless.
Full marks for Dennis. And now we come to the last round and Frank and Dennis's quotations. Frank, yours is Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
This is a tragic tale I tell, particularly the way I tell it. But it's a school story, and it's the tragedy of young adolescent love, suddenly blighted. And it's the tragedy of a young headmaster dedicated against corporal punishment, who suddenly changed his... It took place at my school, Leighton County High School for Boys, so-called to distinguish it, rather essentially, from Leighton County High School for Girls, which was about 2 miles up the road. And the headmaster, Dr. Vickers, had this gorgeous wife. I mean, he was immensely old. He was about 30. But his wife, to us, the whole school was in love with her. She must have been about 27. And she had that sort of vague, lots of vague brown hair, like Christina Rossetti. And she had those sort of 2 bumps above her waist, which are terribly interesting to 13-year-olds. We're all desperately in love with her, and none more than my 2 friends. We were a close-knit trio. There was Gilbert Gunter, whom we called Gilly Gunter, because he wanted to be a ventriloquist. we all sent away, and there's magazines at the time, they had adverts at the back where you sent away. I sent away to Paris, to the Mesmer Institute. Do you remember that, Dennis? And you sent 5 shillings, and they sent you a book back by Dr. Mesmer on how to hypnotize people. And I never got it. And years later, my mother confessed that she intercepted it because she was afraid that I would have read it through and she would have found me hands outstretched, locked rigid in front of the bathroom mirror in an immovable trance. But Gunter, he sent off for the Dr. Fox's book on how to be a ventriloquist. And the third member, Colin Clues, sent off for a book on conjuring, and he tried to be a conjurer. Now, those 2 were madly in love with Mrs. Vickers, the headmaster's wife. I mean, really deeply. I wasn't interested in the headmaster's wife, Mrs. Vickers, at all. All I wanted to do was to found an alternative school newspaper. I wanted to be a writer. And we had the school magazine, which is full of very dull items, like football. R. Prothero is a promising right wing when he controls his urge to retain the ball. And this sort of thing. And I wanted a school newspaper which would have vital news. And all I wanted was a headline to get my paper going. And it happened, because the boys, Colin Clues and Gilly Gunter, ran into trouble. I forget what the trouble was about, but the headmaster wouldn't punish them. He wouldn't whack children at all. He didn't believe in it. So what he did was he made them do some community work. He made them plant some crocus bulbs in the little lawn which was below where his flat was in the school. And he gave them 30 of these bulbs, and of course they started eating them, because they're quite nice, like onions. And they ate 3 of them, and the headmaster's wife, this beautiful lady they desperately in love with, appeared and said, "You stupid boys!" They went white. Their goddess talking. "You stupid boys! Plant those bulbs as you were told." So they there and then vowed revenge on her. And they exacted their revenge. It was slow revenge, but it was awful. And this was in October, and it wasn't till the following early March that their revenge became apparent. It was very, very warm, February and March that year. And early in March, it was the anniversary of the school, and Canon Black, who was chairman of the school governors, a rigorous churchman, went up to stay in the flat. And early that morning, he opened the windows, and during the night, the early warmth had developed these crocuses, and there they were in full flower. But the boys had not planted them as they were told, haphazardly in natural style. They planted them in rows to form letters. And the letters formed words, and the words formed a message. And the message which greeted the canon's gaze was, "Mrs. Vickers doesn't wear knickers." The consequence was that the headmaster broke his vow of no corporal punishment, and I had my headline, because my two lads were taken into the study, loud thwacks were heard, and my headline appeared the following morning: Clues and Gunter of the Third caned.
Thank you, Frank. Denis, your quotation is, "Who was that lady I saw you with last night?"
Well, because the only item that I ever sent away for in a boys' comic was a thing called a C-bacroscope. Do you remember those? Yeah. Which enabled you, apparently, to be able to see behind you. I never quite saw what you wanted to see behind you. But I think something about that being able to see behind me sharpened an interest in history, particularly way back in history, in the time of King Arthur. And I think the most fascinating book I ever read about the times of King Arthur was one written by a German historian by the name of Heinz Seitz. Because what you get from Herr Seitz's research are some bits of information that didn't even rate a mention in Thomas Mallory or T.H. White. He tells us, for example, about the fattest knight at the Round Table, the one they called Sir Lunch-a-Lot. And he tells us how whenever they were all out besieging a castle, the other knights used to taunt him by shouting, "Sit down, you're blocking the moat." But the book's biggest revelation is the fresh light that it throws on that well-known affair between Sir Lancelot and Queen Guinevere, the one which, as you know, ended up with Lancelot having to resign from the Round Table, leave the court, and take up a position with a property company in West Camelot. But because what this history discloses is that the whole relationship started because of Merlin, who, as you'll recall, was someone King Arthur employed as a sort of live-in magician. And what we learn, you see, is that Merlin's big trick, the one that he was always being called on to perform at jousting club dances, was his sawing a lady in half. And the reason that he got so many requests for that, apparently, was partly because the lady he put inside the box was always none other than Queen Guinevere herself. But it was also due to the fact that the sword Merlin used for the actual sawing bit was King Arthur's own much publicised two-handed one, Excalibur, so that he always had to get some knight up from the audience to wield it with him. Well, at one particular cabaret, it was a charity show, actually, in aid of a knight who'd injured himself on a chastity belt. But at this show, the volunteer from the audience turned out to be that popular man about court, Sir Lancelot. Well, after he'd assisted Merlin to saw the Queen into what were apparently two halves, he was instructed to wheel her top half over to stage left. And it was here, according to Camelot gossip, that the first ever whispered exchanges between Lancelot and Guinevere were said to have taken place. Now, King Arthur himself actually didn't see any of that, because he was away down the village that evening, putting paid to a certain fire-breathing dragon who was known locally as Hot Lips. But in the days that followed, Arthur did begin to suspect that his queen's affections had strayed because of those little clues that so often betray that a woman has someone else on her mind. You know, things like an abstracted smile playing round her lips, or sudden unexplained sighs, or staying out 4 nights in a row. When the king confided these suspicions to Merlin, he said to him, "It can only be someone she palled up with last time you cut her in half." Now, any ideas who? Well, of course, Merlin twigged immediately. It was the volunteer from the audience that night. But because Lancelot had kept his visor down all through the performance, Merlin didn't actually know who he was. But being such a crafty old wizard, he knew exactly what to ask Guinevere to find out. And all he did to elicit Lancelot's name was put to the Queen one seemingly casual question. That question which, as 99% of you have already guessed, the question that still lives on in British music hall. Who was that knight I sawed you with last, lady?
Thank you, Dennis, though I find it hard to forgive you hindsight. Anyway, it but remains for me to tell you that today's winners are Antonia and Denis. But Dilys and Frank will, I'm sure, come fighting back in our next programme. Until then, goodbye.
In My Word, Michael O'Donnell was in the chair. The questions were compiled by Peter Moore, and the programme was produced for the BBC by Tony Shrine and Pete Atkin.
Thank you, and welcome to today's skirmish and the battle of words between Dilys Powell and Frank Muir, and Antonia Fraser and Denis Norden. Now let's start with our traditional delve in the dictionary. Frank, what is the meaning of the word lallation? L-A-L-L-A-T-I-O-N.
Well, it's a musical term, isn't it? That when you go la 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 instead of singing, that's lallation.
Yes. That wins a point, I think.
That'll do.
Only because I'm easily pleased. But now we could perhaps search for the meaning. It's akin to a lisp, in fact.
Akin to a lisp.
It's the same.
It's a failure to pronounce.
Yes.
Your R's.
That's right. And you tend to substitute them with...
What do you mean, I tend? I've cured it, haven't I? What a rotten thing to say.
But we would say Lotten if you were lallating. I think because I was so rude to you, we'll give you the marks and tell you it's substituting an L for an R. It's that sort of pronunciation.
What sort of stage Chinese thing?
Yes.
Lice.
Yes.
Flied lice.
Very pleased.
Labish.
And Antonia, what's the meaning of philomot? Or filemot, as I used to call it when I was a child. I'm told it's philomot. F-I-L-E-M-O-T.
Well, the fact you used the word as a child must be a very useful clue. Can I ask you, were you a precocious child?
No, I was a rather plodding child, and that's why I got the pronunciation wrong. But it was a fascinating... It was the sort of word that turns up, actually, in school books. That's no clue. That's an unhelpful clue. But
well, filet must be lover of.
No, it's not. It's an F-E-U.
Oh, sorry.
French.
Filet to follow. Doesn't that mean to walk?
No, it's not follow. It's from a French word, the first part, and the French word actually begins F-E-U.
Le filement.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to get the spelling right for once, because I'm going to use this word.
The actual word is F-I-L-E-M-O-T.
I see.
But it's F-E-U.
And I've confused you by trying to help you by saying that the origin is French, two French words, the first of which begins F-E-U-I, and that's been corrupted.
Oh, I see. It's like feuille morte, yes.
Yes, it is. Very like it.
Yes, so it's a colour, a dead leaf colour.
It is exactly. A brownish, yellow, dead leaf colour, full marks, Antonia.
And somebody was kindly singing something in my ear.
I sang Le Filement.
I thought you were just singing to me, Frank. I didn't realise you were trying to be helpful. Thanks all the same.
Dilys, what's the meaning of a lustrum? L-U-S-T-R-U-M. Lustrum.
I think it's something to do with washing. It's nothing to do with lighting. It isn't lustrous. It's something to do with washing or bathing.
No, it's not to do with washing.
Not washing?
No, it's...
Well, if you
Not
go...
a cure, is it?
Oh, come, no.
No.
If you go
Nostrum.
It's... No.
Anyway,
No. It's...
lustrum.
Lustrum. It is Roman in origin.
Yes. But if you go to Crete and go to the Palace of Minos, you're shown sort of round a lot of learned things, and you say, what's that hole in the ground? And they say it's a lustrum. So you say, what's it for?
No, well, obviously, you don't know their lustrum from a hole in the ground.
But then the key question is, how often do they dig that hole in the ground?
Oh, I think it was there permanently. And they used it for... Are you sure they didn't use it for washing? Washing,
as sure as I can be.
Washing, kind of sacred washing.
No, not even sacrilegious washing. It's a period of time, but related to it's related to a sacrifice.
It's
that people
5
make.
years or something.
It is exactly
Something
5
they
years.
washed only every 5 years.
In a hole in the ground.
Full marks. It's a period of 5 years. They used to have a purifying sacrifice every 5 years after the census. And I can't understand whether they were purifying themselves after filling in the census or... anyway, but they didn't do it in a hole in the ground. Denis, a quidnunc.
Oh, yes. That's Latin. What? Quid? Nunc? Now. Tom Jones would sing, quid nunc, my love. Nunc. Nunc, you have left me. And a quidnunc, it's a kind of... It's a person who a what now kind of person, sort of prying gossip with elements of the busybody about him or her.
That's exactly it. A sort of a nosy Parker,
That's a
gossipy
nosy
person.
I thought it was a tip given you by an elderly relation.
Well, before we go on to the next round, let me give you the quotations that Frank and Denis have been given for the last round. And Frank's is a proverbial saying, it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. And Denis has got a song title, Everybody Loves Somebody Sometime. Difficult to say and not to sing.
Not to sing, yeah.
Even to try and sing like Dean Martin sings it. Now, meanwhile, we'll have a round of particular locations. Frank, tell me precisely where or upon what you would expect to find or even see a pilcrow, a virgule, and an N, E-N-N. Pilcrow, P-I-L-C-R-O-W, a virgule, V-I-R-G-U-L-E.
A virgule I'd expect to see trembling on the lip of my French master giving me French dictation. Le chat, virgule, est sous la table. Attention, me. It's a French for a comma. But so these
We've already got 1 mark for nostalgia.
so it's something to do with a comma, printer's terms.
Yes. They are printer's terms. Pilcrow is the paragraph symbol. Virgule. You were thinking of Virgule Poirot, weren't you? He's the comma. Virgule is an oblique stroke, apparently.
Is it?
Printers, yes. Which is a stroke you get when you're lying down, as opposed to you get when you're standing up. And N is a short dash, as opposed to an M, which is a long dash.
How semi-interesting.
Yes, Antonia, let me move swiftly to another location. Where or upon what would you expect to find or to see a poker, a beetle, and a moon?
Poker, a beetle, and a moon.
You can have as much time as you like. Clue.
it's to do with a clock, and it's...
There aren't all that many things on a clock that you can... Something you can see on a clock. Let's make it... I think this is very
Could it be
difficult.
the clock face? Or is it a style of hand, or would it be style of hand?
Are they all parts of a clock face?
No, they are style of hand. But anybody venture a go at how you tell a poker from a beetle or a moon?
The poker is a long, straight hand. How about that? And a beetle is a small, squiggly hand.
Actually, it does actually
Crescent's
say...
got a bend in it.
On my crib, it says a minute hand instead of a long hand, so it's the minute hand, in fact, the poker. A beetle is an hour hand so shaped, as a beetle, presumably, and the moon is an hour hand with a pointed head on a ring.
I was just getting to that, actually.
Yes, I think we'll give you a mark for getting to the face. Dilys, where would you find a ledger, a tabletop, and a pepper pot?
In Dickens.
Pepper pot. It's architectural.
Yes, it is. It's a very limited area of
A
architecture.
pepper pot is the shape of some buildings at the top. There used to be one somewhere near, I don't know, Charing Cross.
But these are much smaller things than buildings.
Are they?
What sort of gloomy, under old oaks might you find these shaped stones? A ghostly voice has whispered in her ear.
A ghostly voice says graveyards.
That is it. How clever you are. They
Isn't
are
he gifted?
And without being helped either.
No, not a word.
They're shapes of gravestones.
Pepper pot? What a funny gravestone.
I think the pepper pot is the thing you put the flowers in, isn't it? My father actually designed his own gravestone one night. He was a family doctor in Yorkshire, and one night after a very good dinner with some other local GPs, he designed his own gravestone. Sadly, we never gave it to him, because what he chose was a simple slab of Connemara marble, in the centre of which was set a bell push, and underneath this was the inscription, "Ring as hard as you like, you can't get me now. Yours in peace, James Michael O'Donnell." That response makes me feel I must go over to Dublin, where he's buried, and actually get it engraved.
See where he gets it from.
Dennis, where would you find a voma, a philtrum, and a nathion or nathion, which is gnathion,
And how's
Gnathion,
philtrum? Is that
PH. PHILTRUM.
just from the look at them? In a chemist shop, the philtrum sounds like voma. I won't tell you what I associate that with.
Arrivederci, Voma.
I don't know what gnathion
I
is, but it sounds pharmaceutical.
Well, they're not.
They potter with at the back.
They're medical rather than pharmaceutical. Not common medical terms.
Obviously, no, they don't. Mind you, they don't potter with anything now, chemists, do they? They used to do lots of nice things with, you could hear grinding noises and not, but now they just pour things from a big bottle into a small bottle. No, I don't, I'm not very good at that.
A voma is, in fact, the bone that separates the left-hand side of your nose from the right-hand side of your nose.
What a rotten job.
The philtrum is that little indentation in the centre of your upper lip where the perspiration accumulates and you get nervous. And the nathion is the point of the chin.
The Kirk Douglas.
The good old reliable Nathium.
Have a name for every part of the body. I mean, have they missed anything? Is there a name for the back of the knee? Is there a medical name?
Yes, there is.
Oh.
Popliteum is the back of the knee.
Popliteum.
Let's move swiftly to much more familiar territory on this programme, colourful poetry. Can you quote the relevant lines of verse that answer the following questions? Frank, what, according to Rudyard Kipling, was the colour of the Limpopo River?
Just so. It was the great grey-green, greasy Limpopo River, all set around with fever trees.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Full marks to Frank. Antonia, what was the colour of the Shropshire Hills as remembered by A.E. Houseman?
Blue remembered hills.
What are those blue remembered hills? Didn't Dennis Potter use it for the title of a play as well?
Yes, about
adults
as
playing
children.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, full marks to Antonia. Dilys? Dilys, what was the colour of the ancient mariner's beard?
Well, he'd been at it such a long time. It must have been fairly dark. Was it white? Was it white, do you think?
By thy long beard and glittering
White.
eye.
Grey.
Grey.
Grey. Full marks.
Grey.
Full marks. Dennis, a chap, I don't know whether he's called Gellet Burgess or Gellet Burgess, who's an American writer, wrote a short poem about an oddly coloured cow. Do you know it?
I never saw a purple cow. I hope I never see one. But this I tell you anyhow, I'd rather see one than be one.
Full marks to Dennis. I think we give everyone a bonus mark there because we were also sharp on the poetry.
And the scorer.
A bonus mark to the scorer. Now, a quick round of words that terrify foreigners who try to learn our language. These are words that are pronounced the same but are spelt differently. Frank, one is a floating bunk and the other is parturition.
Birth.
Well done. Birth with an E and birth with an I. Antonia, to chew is one, and neither, or neither, is the other.
Come on, audience.
Somebody in the second row. 2 marks to the gentleman in the second row.
And what the gentleman said was gnaw.
That's right. And 2 marks for you for listening so well. Gnaw, G-N-A-W, and Nor, N-O-R. Dilys, one word is a stoneless fruit, and the other is Basque millinery.
Berry.
Well done. Dennis, your 2 words. The first one is a disparagement, and the other one is deceptive dexterity.
Slight.
Well done.
Where were you?
Slight. S-L-I-G-H-T and S-L-E-I-G-H-T. And now we come to the last round in Frank and Dennis's quotations. Frank, your quotation is 6 of one and half a dozen of the other.
I have an idea that the chap who supplies our milk in the village, Mercer Bowles, is going to be very rich indeed very shortly. I speak of the village of Thorpe, generally acknowledged to be the jewel of Surrey, nestling between the gravel pits of Norlands Lane and the sewage disposal plant of Lyne Lane. And I've lived there 30 years. My wife and I have lived there 30 years. And the astonishing thing, very odd, isn't it, that people are more impressed that you've lived in the same house for 30 years than you've been married for 30 years. But there have been a lot of changes in the village, but not all that much. A few changes. I don't know if you know, just opposite the Red Lion, Mrs. Meldrum used to have this sub-post office. Well, that's all gone now, you know. But Mercer has always been in the village delivering the milk. I first met him in his battered-down old white van when I was strolling along about the 3rd week of being in Thorpe, and there was a Bentley. Used to have Bentleys in those days, people, didn't they? Stopped opposite Mercer's van, and his voice shouted out, "Hey, you there?" And Mercer looked up and he said, "If I carry on as I'm going, how many miles to Ascot?" Mercer scratched his head and said, "Whoa, I should say about 28,902 miles." The man said, "What?" He said, "Well, Ascot's that way." And Mercer was very a very smoking man. He always, for the last 30 years, has whipped around the village with his milk in one hand and one of those small cigars between his lips. But he doesn't smoke it all day. He smokes it early in the morning when he starts his round, and when it gets halfway down, it goes out. And he's quite happy the rest of the day, just with half of it. I always say he practices midwifery. But Mercer's going to be rich, because Mercer sent round with the milk notices saying that he's got this new product, which is called Mercer's Marvellous Health Milk. And according to Mercer, it's useful for everything. It's slightly more expensive than ordinary milk. But he claims it's got 50% the dangerous things that give you cholesterol. It's got 50% the amount of butter fat, 50% of the amount of saturated fats. It's purer than tap water. It contains none of the additives of tap water. You can use it for washing the car, bathing the dog. And he's going to make... I went round to Mercer and I wanted to try some of this, to wash the car, because I'm rather fond of the car. And I said to Mercer, this marvellous milk, is it really good? I mean, he said, the whole village is mad on these health fads. He said, they must take it. Think of what it does. I said, can you guarantee it's half the fats of milk? He said, aye. I said, it's got no chemicals and stuff, chlorine and stuff. No, not a bit. And at the time, he was fixing up an enormous water butt at the side of his barn, where all the pipes went into it. And I said, Mercer, what actually does your wonder milk consist of? What is the formula? He said, it's perfectly harmless, Frank. I said, I'm sure it is. I said, but can you tell me what it consists of? And he said, well, you're an old friend, 30 years standing. He said, I'll tell you as long as you keep it under your foot. I said, I will. He said, 6 of rain and half a dozen of the udder.
To think for, 26 years I've lived within a few miles of this rural treasure house of England. Denis, your quotation is, everybody loves somebody sometime.
You know what's so nice about the chairman of this program being a qualified doctor? Well, quite apart from the reassurance of having a sort of live-in medical person, to deal with any emergency that may crop up, as for instance last summer when a heat-crazed pink butterfly tried to mate with Frank's bow tie. But beside things like that, it's so useful being able to cadge expert advice on the kind of problem that I had to face recently, namely that having got fed up with my family doctor, what was the best way to go about selecting a new one? Because it is a problem, isn't it? I mean, nobody prints any kind of consumer survey of the medical profession, the good doctor guide, that sort of thing. So how can you make sure beforehand that the doctor you change to isn't going to turn out worse than the one you packed in? My principal quarrel with him, incidentally, being that he now has such a profound reluctance to making home visits. The last time I had one of my chests, we got into this insupportable position where I said I was too ill to go to his surgery. He said he was too busy to come to my house. And because neither of us would give in, he finally suggested that we should meet halfway and he'd examine me outside the Odeon. Well, I mean, who needs that? So you can imagine how grateful I was when Michael recommended that the right way to pick another doctor would be to conduct my own consumer survey. Just go and see a few of them, he said, then register with the one that gives you the most confidence. And I said, well, isn't it difficult to get an appointment with a strange GP? Whereupon our chairman winked and said, as regards that, I can give you a very useful tip. Now, what that tip was, I'll get to later, because what I'd like to concentrate on is the survey itself and just how wide a spectrum of medical practitioners it taught me to lose faith in. For starters, there was the unsavoury-looking doctor that I privately labelled the Hippocratic Oath. He was the one who not only had all his hypodermic syringes parked in a dartboard, but when he looked down my throat, instead of using a tongue depressor, he used a comb left behind by another patient. Then there were the patently untrustworthy doctors. These ranged from the one whose scalpel had a bottle opener at the other end to the rather twitchy man whose stethoscope had good luck charms all over it. And of course, there were two or three that fell into a category I can only describe as downright weirdos, like the one I walked in and found playing Lady of Spain on a row of specimen bottles. Perhaps, though, the palm in that category should go to one doctor I visited who made all his patients undress in the waiting room. Apparently, this not only increased the time they could spend with him in the surgery, but it also saved him from subscribing to any magazines. Because when I asked him how the patients themselves were reacting to this, he said, well, some of them are now making appointments just for the waiting room. So perhaps you'll now understand why the net result of my survey was a decision to stay with the doctor I already had. But what I did gain from it, of course, was that invaluable tip of Michael's for getting an appointment with any doctor, anywhere, anytime. All you have to do, he said, is ring up and say you've got a sexual problem that is so extraordinary you can't possibly discuss it over the telephone. Because the plain truth is that in matters like that, doctors are really no different from the rest of us. Or if you want to put that into Dean Martin phraseology, everybody loves some bawdy symptoms.
Thank you, Dennis. I think after that I'd better attend all future medical meetings with a sack over my head. It just remains for me to announce that today's winners are Frank and Dilys. Well done. But Antonia and Dennis will have a chance to stage a comeback in our next programme. Until then, goodbye.
My word.
A panel game devised by Tony Shrine and Edward J. Mason. And here to introduce the teams is Michael O'Donnell.
Thank you very much, and welcome to today's dramatic episode in the unrelenting philological struggle between Dilys Powell and Frank Muir, Antonia Fraser and Denis Norden. Let's start with our usual quick plunge into the dictionary, see what we can find at the bottom. Frank, what's the meaning of Epicurean?
Well, nowadays it means having a high standard in food and things. You really want the very best. But it was actually Epicurus, wasn't it, who had a rather slightly different philosophical approach. But that's what it meant.
Could you hint at his approach. Not on a family programme.
I'd rather not discuss it.
Yeah.
I'm not a gossip.
So it's really a lot. Yeah, we'll give you the marks, too. Of the,
Oh, that's all right then.
We'll give you the marks. I suppose it's a life devoted to the pursuit of pleasure. It's always the pursuit of pleasure, isn't it? The life of a glutton, a sybarite.
It's the more or less the refinement of pleasure, isn't it? Not just the pursuit of blatant sensuality, but getting it good.
Refined, sensuous enjoyment, I think it says in the dictionary.
Not bad stuff.
A steak with which you, of course, have not even a passing acquaintance. Antonia, the meaning of friable.
Oh, well, this is an easy word for anyone who pretends to be a gardener. It's when you're determined to plant something and you have it, and there's you, and there's the earth, and then suddenly you think, I'd better look at the instructions, and the instructions say, make the earth friable. And if you're a fool, you send for a frying pan. But if you're sensible, you then start to sort of make curious gestures, which I fear will not go down the air. But after you've sort of friabled it.
Sort of crumbling
exactly,
gestures,
but it's not nearly as simple as crumbling it. I mean, although thanks for the tip, but it's not like that at all. And you go on doing it for some time, by which time all the earth that you carefully assembled has vanished.
Can't have friable clay or friable gravel.
It's extraordinary you say that, because the definition is that which can easily be crumbled, but yet it's used in medicine quite often as a sort of as things that can be easily torn. Patients who can be easily torn are a bit friable. I can remember a consultant teaching us when I was a student saying, one of the students said, "Yes, sir, this is a friable membrane." And he said, "Poachable may be, friable no." Dilys, the meaning of a harbinger.
Harbinger? It's a word used in poetic language. It's a harbinger is a kind of herald, an announcer. The lark is the harbinger of dawn, isn't he?
Oh, yes.
I'm never up to here, but I imagine he is.
I'm reliably informed.
Yes, I'm reliably informed.
No, that's 2 full marks, neatly, concisely won. Denis, what's the meaning of turn sick?
Well, I would imagine it's something that makes you feel a bit duff.
If you could particularise the sort of duffness that you feel.
Well, you would feel what I think the Americans call nauseous.
That's yes. Vertigo really was the word you were groping for, was
Vertigo.
it? Vertigo.
I
or
see.
dizziness.
Fear of? Does it mean dizziness from heights?
Well, no, it's giddiness and vertigo.
Yeah.
It's also a disease of sheep, where it's known as the gid or the sturdy, and horses, the stagger.
Oh, yes.
Now, before we go on to the next round, let me give you the quotations that have been given to Frank and Denis for the last round. Frank's is the heart of the matter, and Denis's is the flight of the bumblebee, which is a piece of music associated, and you take your choice either with Rimsky-Korsakov or Harry James, if you're the right age, which I am. Meanwhile, on with one of these quaintly entitled rounds called A Mixed Bag. Frank, from your corner of the bag comes this question. What French word, adapted into English, do we owe to the uplifting genius of an American lady, Miss Mary Phelps Jacob?
It's not the bra.
It is the bra.
Well, I now hang on a bit. I did some work on this for a chapter in a book, and it was the modern bra was developed from the old boned one by an American lady in 1914.
That's
called
right.
Caress Crosby.
She devised a homemade harness in which 2 handkerchiefs,
That's right.
united by ribbons,
baby ribbon. Yeah.
played the sporting. I think we ought to give you an extra mark there, don't we? Don't you?
Well, either that or none at all.
I learn an awful lot on this programme. Antonia, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow won half the New World's glory. Can you detect anything curious about that statement?
Oh, it's an anagram, is it?
Clever girl, yes. Full marks. Well done. The acclaim in the second half is an anagram of his name. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow won half the New World's glory. Dilys. What connection is there between Sir John Suckling, the 17th century poet and playwright, best remembered perhaps for the lyric beginning, "Why so pale and wan, fond lover," and the parlour game of cribbage? What's his connection with cribbage?
I think he invented it.
Well done.
He didn't.
He did. Dennis. George Bernard Shaw, hostile to the vagaries of English spelling, once pointed out that the word fish could phonetically be spelt Goti, G-H-O-T-I. Can you explain how?
Yeah, I'm afraid I can. It's just one of those things either you know or you know. And if you get these publications which deal with what I think are called playful linguistics, this is a good old GH. And I'm trying to think. GH as in, for example, enough or tough.
That gives us the F.
That gives you the F. The O is I as in women, O as in women. And the TI as in any word that ends in shun, for example, station or rotation or something. So it's f-ish, fish. There's one you can do with potato as well, in which there's O-U-G-H, it starts with U-G-H as in hiccup. And ends in E-A-U as in bow. You know.
Yes, well, I'm delighted you knew it. Well done. I'm sure the full. I could never have given you a clue. That's why I'm delighted you knew it. Now for a round of things that have something in common. Frank, what do the following have in common? Mein Kampf, The Pilgrim's Progress, and a 17th century history of the world.
If the 17th century history of the world, as I'm sure it is, was by Raleigh, or Raleigh, it was written in the Tower. Pilgrim's Progress, Bedford Jail. Mein Kampf in a prison in Germany.
Full mark. Full mark. Antonia, what do the following have in common? A sickener, a death cap, and a false blusher.
Sickener,
Death
cap. No, they're not mushrooms, are they?
Well...
Toadstools.
Yes, well done. The erudition is flying around the studio today. Dilys, what have the following got in common? Under the Greenwood Tree by Thomas Hardy, Sad Cypress by Agatha Christie, and Remembrance of Things Past by Marcel Proust.
They weren't all written by the same person, but they're all written in the same, not written in the same language. No.
Under the Greenwood Tree.
Poem.
No.
Not the same poem.
They're all Shakespearean quotations.
Yes, they're all from...
Under the Greenwood Tree.
You and your close friend, Mr. Muir, I think got that between you. We'll give you full marks. Well done. Dennis. The Provoked Wife, The Relapse or Virtue in Danger, and Blenheim Palace all have something in common. What or who?
Well, Provoked Wife and The Relapse were written by John Vanbrugh. And Blenheim... I know John Vanbrugh designed the Haymarket Theatre, or as was the Haymarket. So presumably did he design Blenheim Palace?
Yes, he did.
Oh,
Got his hand in with the Haymarket Theatre and then expanded it a bit to Blenheim Palace. Well done. Now we come to the round that always taxes the chairman's skill, and we reveal to our listeners that we have a hidden member of the team, a scorer, Leonie Hadley, who is going to count while I listen, because we're going to do one of these rounds of monosyllables, where I'm going to ask each of you to describe something in at least 25 words without using words of more than one syllable.
An ant, can I have?
Yours, Frank, your subject is 007.
Oh. What a name for a spy. But his name is Jim Bond. I say Jim in case you might think that James is more than one.
You've got it.
James.
No, on, stop.
But he's tough.
You've done 25 words.
Oh, I've got a lot more to say here.
Antonia, let's move on to a much simpler subject, and one of which I gather you are a world authority. Your subject is the exact whereabouts of Oliver Cromwell's warts.
Old Noll's warts must be on his head. But where is his head? We ask. It was on top of his limbs in the past, but the head, warts and all, to coin a phrase, was chopped off the head when King Charles II came back to his own. And so the head was put in the ground. Near York, they say. Who am I to say? But where the head is, there are the warts, you may be sure.
Dilys, your monosyllables have to be on how to fry an egg.
Make it friable.
I do not cook, but I will try to tell you. You take the shell off the egg. If you leave it on, it will not be good. You take a pan, a round pan, with a thing to hold it by, and you put some fat and turn on the gas. The egg will spit at you, but you need not mind.
And Denis, this is something we've all been waiting for. Your first action upon becoming Prime Minister.
If I ruled the world, to coin one more phrase, I would pass a law that shops in the high street which have a clock outside, which have a clock for all to see, would be fined a lot of cash each time that clock was wrong. Right?
Right. Let us move on to the last round, and Frank and Denis's quotations. Now, Frank, your quotation is the heart of the matter. Tell us the origin of that.
Well, it's a book by Graham Greene. You'll get a bonus mark now.
Get 1 mark for that.
I'm in a position tonight, Doctor, to relieve mankind from the hideous embarrassment when you don't know what to say, either because you don't understand the question or because you really have nothing important to say, but you feel you have to talk, or that you talk and you want to obscure. All these things are terribly difficult. But I've discovered an even better way, which is not obvious, that you sort of ride with the punch, and you will never feel any kind of embarrassment. And I developed this process because of French. I'm not very good at French, you see, because when I was at school, my first year at school, I missed French. You never catch up if you miss it in the first year, do you? I missed French because I had my appendix out. I also missed the beginnings of algebra because I had some wisdom teeth out. And then I also missed geography because I had a small bone out of my foot. At the end of the first year, I was not only light in learning, I was about half a stone light in weight. But anyway, I could never catch up with French. And my wife is half French, and she speaks it perfectly. So I just left it to her, you see. There's no problem. All through our married life, when we're in France, I leave it to her to talk. But it doesn't do, and sometimes I'm on my own. And I've made little tentative efforts, and the embarrassment of it. Because I know about 180 words in French, and about half of them are very similar to the other half. I was invited to stay overnight with a friend who had a rather beautiful villa at Cap Ferrat with a swimming pool. And he was extremely rich and extremely nice. And I went for a swim, and afterwards I got out of the water and said, "Ah oui, c'est très, 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 très beau, le pissoir." The word is piscine, of course. It actually got worse because he sort of smiled rather bleakly and with a Gallic shrug of his shoulders, and everybody else tittered. But the following day when I got up, he'd emptied the pool. And there were 8 servants scrubbing it with rushed besoms. So this way of avoiding these sort of confrontations. And when people talk to me in Corsica, they all talk in extremely rapid, rather Parisian French. Our neighbours, Parisian. And Parisian French is like a French LP played at 45 revs per minute. And it all flies at you. And it's all, Monsieur Mitterrand, il est bête, il est bête. And he keeps appealing to me for, "Oh, hey, Frank, c'est ça, n'est-ce pas, c'est ça?" And I developed a technique of not actually saying anything, but making noises. I say, "Oui, oui." De temps en temps, oui, oui. Peut-être. And this could apply to England as well. What you do is you do a creative mutter. That's the answer. If somebody said to you, "Did you see that terribly important thing on television last night, that feature programme, when you've been watching Coronation Street?" So you don't say no or go over. What you say is, "Ah, interesting, eh? What? How do they? I wonder. You know, it was so." And they can't bear not to tell you what it was all about. So, somebody says at a party, Kafka. Do you read Kafka? You don't just say no, or you say Kafka. The one thing about Kafka, if there is one thing, it's... Well, surely, he's Kafka, isn't he? He's Kafka. And then wait, and then we'll tell you all about Kafka. And there's this creative... Well, I'm writing a book about how to cope with it, and I've got a title for it, and it's a sort of Graham Greenish title, really. I'm going to call it The Art of the Mutter.
Thank you for that useful social tip. Denis, your quotation is "The Flight of the Bumblebee."
The other Saturday afternoon on telly, there was a 1941 film called Hold Back the Dawn. They all had titles like that in those days, and it reminded me what an important part of the adolescent mating rituals of that time our local cinemas were, especially the one that we used to call Sammy's Bug Hole. It was a legendary venue just off the Kingsland Road, Dalston, where my close friend, Les Winkler, once claimed to have broken 3 commandments just during the second feature. Now, personally, I was never as fortunate as Les, mainly because the only girl that I could ever get to accompany me to the Bug Hole during that period was one called Nanette, or as I've since come to think of her, No Way, Nanette. Now, the reason that I never had any difficulty getting her to go to pictures with me was because her family and mine were very close. In fact, their scullery used to leak into ours. But that didn't help me as far as any bug hole success with Nanette was concerned. Partly, I now think, because by temperament she did happen to be the sort of girl Greenland could well have named a glacier after, but also because that whole back row of the cinema game had to be played according to a sort of tacitly agreed set of rules. And the most important of these was that the game always began with the male player essaying a furtive little movement that one might tactfully call sleight of hand. Now, this took your arm across the back of her seat and round her shoulder. But from there onward and downward, every succeeding move brought you into what war communiques of the time used to call heavily defended areas. Your final jumping off point being the knee, whence, according to the conventional wisdom of those days, anything could happen. But never did, except in the case of Les Winkler. So shall I tell you the furthest that I ever reached in that game? I never even got the first move right. Now, of course, that was partly explained by the fact that I was so inordinately tall for my age, all my jackets had become at least 2 sizes too small, with the result that the material across my shoulders was stretched so tight, my movements were always restricted by what would now be called arms control. But in addition to that handicap to backseat manoeuvring, I also seemed to encounter hazards that were undreamt of by other male wallies of my generation. There was the time when just when my creeping hand had arrived midway across Nanette's back, I got my hangnail snagged in her Angora sweater. I didn't remember those. They're coming back, those. Then there was the afternoon when she'd kicked off one of her shoes, which is something girls in cinemas did ever such a lot in those days. And while she was leaning back in quite uncharacteristic indifference to the progress I was making, she suddenly realized that a man who'd just pushed past us on his way out must have kicked the shoe halfway up the gangway, so that when it was thwarted, well, I went after it. But what finally inclined me towards celibacy was the evening when, just about the moment when my slithering fingers were just about to surmount an unexplained protuberance, one of her false eyelashes suddenly dropped into her vanilla tub. Well, as I say, those were just some of the memories summoned back by that one old film. But I wonder whether those recollections of the bug hole are just a symptom of something else. Perhaps my whole preoccupation with the movies of that period is simply just an expression of sympathy with the predicament of all those who have groped unsuccessfully in darkened cinemas, a misfortune that was summed up so well by Rimsky-Korsakov's well-known composition, The Plight of the Fumble Knee.
Thank you, Denis, for evoking those memories of back rows long since gone. It only remains for me to tell you that today's winners are Dilys and Frank. But Antonia and Denis, I'm sure, will strike back in our next programme. Until then, goodbye.
In My Word, Michael O'Donnell was in the chair. The questions were compiled by Peter Moore, and the programme was produced for the BBC by Tony Shrine and Pete Atkin. You've been listening to My Word.